Welcome to the download. I'm Reid Mercer. 4 stories this week, and every one of them is a balance sheet story wearing a culture headline. Martha Stewart's headed to Netflix. Gary Neville's crew just landed at Disney+, and Netflix is running it back with Gary Lineker's football show for another season. Same move, 3 different logos. We'll get into what these licensing deals actually cost the people who built the audience in the first place. Then SXSW is carving out a whole podcast festival for 2027, right alongside film, TV, music, and comedy. I want to know who's really paying for that real estate. And later, political podcasts are surging into the midterms. Ad dollars are chasing them, and not every sponsorship is being disclosed the way it should be. Plus, Cineverse is flagging something networks won't love. CTV coming for podcast ad budgets, right as reach numbers look strongest. Follow the money. Let's start with the streaming deals, because Martha Stewart didn't just get a Netflix slot. She got a lesson in what distribution really costs.
We want to hear from you. Submit questions via the web form in the description or give us a call at 747-234-2678 and leave your question. Don't be shy. Our AI assistant makes it super easy. Three deals landed this week that look completely unrelated. They're not. Martha Stewart's podcast, the one she built at iHeart, is moving to Netflix. iHeartMedia confirmed that themselves today. Same week, Netflix locks in The Rest is Football for the 2026-27 Premier League season with exclusive episodes, according to What's on Netflix. And Disney Plus just signed Overlap's Stick to Football, per WebWire's report on Wednesday. 3 platforms, 3 audio shows with built-in audiences. One pattern. Everyone's calling these wins, bigger reach, bigger budgets. Follow the money and it reads different. This is licensing, and licensing is how a network trades its listener relationship for a check. Here's the actual story nobody's putting in paragraph 1. Who owns the RSS feed once Martha Stewart's show is living inside Netflix's app? Who owns the video rights when Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher are filming for Disney Plus instead of just talking into a mic? And what happens to the audio ad inventory iHeart still needs to sell against a show that now lives on somebody else's platform? Nobody's answering that in public. That's the tell. I've seen this movie. Radio consolidation in the 90s ran the same play. A station sells its most valuable local programming into a syndication deal, banks the check, and 2 years later, the syndicator owns the listener relationship, not the station. Swap label for network and artist for talent. That's what's happening with football podcasts right now. Gary Lineker's Rest is Football already did 1 lap with Netflix during the World Cup. Now it's a full season exclusive for 2026-27. Netflix is building its content calendar around audio-first talent it didn't have to develop from scratch. So what should executives be asking Monday morning? Whether your top decile IP, the show that actually drives your sales, is being valued as a show with a renewal negotiation and growth attached to it, or as a content acquisition line item on someone else's balance sheet. Those are different numbers. One compounds, the other gets amortized and forgotten by year 3. The math doesn't math if you're the one still trying to sell inventory around a show that just became somebody else's exclusive. Netflix and Disney Plus didn't get into podcasting because they suddenly loved the format. They got in because the audience was already built, and the acquisition cost was cheap next to producing it themselves. So if platforms are buying the shows, who's building the room where those deals actually get made? Speaking of who builds that room, SXSW just answered. Variety reported this week that South by Southwest is adding a dedicated podcast festival for 2027, running alongside film, TV, music, and comedy as a core pillar. Billboard's Chris Egerton confirmed the same shift, and podcastnewsdaily.com pegged the dates, March 17th through the 20th in Austin, open to any badge holder. Now, they're also moving film premieres out of the Paramount Theater and into ACL Live. IndieWire's Christian Zilko covered that venue shuffle. Renovations explain part of it. But you don't reshuffle your marquee venue and mint a new podcast festival pillar in the same announcement unless the sponsorship math changed too. Festivals add pillars when sponsors buy the category. Culture doesn't fund naming rights and badge tiers. Advertisers do. The Wrap's J.D. Knapp framed this as podcasting finally getting equal billing with film, TV, music, and comedy. Equal billing means equal ad inventory on the sponsorship deck. On-Air Fest and Podcast Movement have run this playbook for years. Smaller rooms, dense deal-making. What SXSW brings is scale and brand buyers who already write checks for Austin. Add the locals-only perks Maya Copeland flagged in her Variety piece, and you've got a festival trying to keep its home crowd happy while importing coastal money. And who's walking those halls? Streaming execs hunting the next football podcast. Agents shopping format rights, the same adaptation crowd, just with a lanyard and an open bar. 2 years ago, audio was a sidebar panel at this conference. Now it's a line item on the sponsorship rate card. And nothing's moving faster onto that rate card right now than political money.
Flip that rate card forward 6 weeks, and here's what shows up. Audacity just picked up Midas Touch for distribution and ad sales. Matthew Keys reported the deal for thedesk.net this week, right as political ad season starts moving. Not a coincidence. Frank Racioppi's piece in Forbes, citing Triton Digital's Q2 U.S. podcast ranker, found political and news podcasts posted a real jump in listening heading into the midterms, even with comedy still the top genre overall. So the sales calendar is the actual story here. Every buyer with midterm dollars needs inventory before the spend window closes, and Midas Touch just got a lot easier to buy in bulk. Now, here's the part that should worry a compliance department more than a marketing one. Responsible Statecraft, reporters Connor Eccles and Nick Cleveland Stout found that Israel is sponsoring ads on Ted Cruz's podcast, and under the iHeartMedia arrangement, that revenue routes to a pro-Cruz super PAC. Sit with that structure a second. A foreign government buying airtime, proceeds flowing toward a domestic political operation. The IAB has never had to write disclosure rules for that. Their whole framework got built for direct-to-consumer mattress ads and meal kits, not FARA filings. Somewhere an ad ops team is Googling the Foreign Agents Registration Act for the first time this week. I don't envy them. Which gets to the trade-off every network is quietly making right now. Political inventory prices well and clears fast into an election cycle. Simple math. But load up on partisan content and you cap your blue-chip roster. Big consumer brands don't want to run next to a super PAC adjacent show. Most of the Fortune 500 doesn't either. So a network president is weighing a real choice. Take the premium political dollar now or protect the brand-safe lineup you'll need for the other 3 years of the cycle. Nobody says that out loud on an earnings call. But watch who signs these deals in year 2 of a midterm cycle instead of year 4. That tells you the answer. And underneath all of it, political money is proving something bigger, that buyers believe podcasts move audiences at real scale. The IAB just made that same reach argument the center of its own upfront. New numbers and a real competitive threat to go with them. Shifting to the money side of measurement, Podcast News Daily broke down a new Westwood One analysis, and the number's worth saying out loud. Podcasts now rank number 2 in reach among adults 18 to 34 and 25 to 54, ahead of YouTube, ahead of TV, ahead of the major social platforms. Number 2. That's the pitch the IAB upfront built its stage around, according to Inside Radio's coverage this week. So, that's the show. 3 streaming deals, 1 pattern. A network trading its listener relationship for a check. Same trade radio syndication made decades ago. And SXSW adding a full podcast festival for 2027? Same math, really. Sponsors bought the category. Culture didn't fund those badge tiers. The takeaway for your Monday meeting? Stop counting downloads. Start asking who owns the feed. If this one landed, forward it to a colleague who needs it.
Tips and feedback go to the download at heymado.com. Thanks for spending this time with me. Back next week, still asking who owns the feed. Talk soon.